through them. We want to welcome back to the program Senator Roger Wicker, Republican from Mississippi. Senator Wicker, welcome back to today's issues.
Glad to be back on a big day.
Yes, it is. Listen, we've got there's so many stories. I don't know what 2-3 years ago. It seemed like it was hard to maybe 4 years ago, hard to find news stories. Now we can't cover everything. Right. Senator, we have two very important issues we want to try to squeeze in. We know your time is limited. The first, I went to your website. You have released a statement on North Korean provocation. This is very worrying, the situation in North Korea, very worrying to many Americans who have been following this. Why don't you tell us, because you're a senior member of the Senate Armed Services Committee, this is kind of in your wheelhouse, kind of lay out the problem and the difficulties in solving what is going on in North Korea.
Well, the problem is North Korea is dominated now by the third generation of totally irresponsible, unreliable, unpredictable leadership. The people in North Korea pretty much view these leaders as gods, and they're just totally brainwashed. And who would have thought that they could develop this technology that was demonstrated a few days ago, which basically shows that they are capable of putting an atomic bomb on an intercontinental ballistic missile that could reach any city in the United States, including Tupelo, including Washington, D.C. But they do have that technology. Now, most of the people live in absolute poverty there, but their elite they're well educated and they've developed this capability. So we obviously have to pay attention to it. I do think this. I don't think Kim Jong-un wants to commit suicide. And I do believe he understands that any attack on America or any attack on Americans, any of our interests, would result in a firestorm coming down on him that very day. It would be the last day of his life and the last day of the lives of all the members of that regime. There would be carnage for sure around in the area, and we don't want that. We want to try to avoid it. But I do believe he understands that any attack on the United States, though he's now capable of it, would result in his immediate death.
Senator, I'd like to ask you something about China. Obviously, they're the big player in that part of the world. In your judgment, is China doing enough to defuse the problem?
No. And, China they sort of treat North Korea the way Russia treats Iran. They give lip service to being opposed to the development of a nuclear weapon, but they're not doing everything they possibly could. China could bring the North Korean regime to its knees if they would do an absolute boycott, an absolute end of all trade and relationship. But they want to keep them as sort of a handy foil there. They don't want things to get too out of hand. But in a way, this unstable regime at the north part of that peninsula gives them a little leverage with the rest of us. And I do view China as just as significant an adversary to the United States as North Korea. They very much want to dominate the Pacific, and that's why we need to implement my Ships Act to provide for a 355 ship navy, so that the Pacific is a place where American interests can keep the sea lanes open.
Senator Steve Jordahl here with American Family News. We're hearing pretty substantial or substantive rumors that the president may be planning to replace Secretary of State Tillerson in the middle of this whole thing with North Korea, it makes me a little nervous to think about changing that important of a position. Do you have a thought about that?
Well, if the secretary would like to step down after a tough year, I don't want to keep him if he doesn't feel like he's got the juice to continue this. It's a very tough job, and you're in the air all the time. You're on the road all the time. So whatever they decide to do, I support it. I read the news article. Pompeo is the CIA director. He's being rumored as someone who would move into that position. He is strong as horseradish. He's a graduate of the United States Military Academy, #1 graduate, if I'm not mistaken, and would be a very hawkish and no-nonsense Secretary of State. If that's the way the president wanted to go, I would support that. But I really only know the news articles, and I've just seen them in the last few hours.
Senator Wicker, this is Walker here. One topic, and I think you were alluding to this when we brought you on the show, is tax reform. I know news broke within the last hour that Senator McCain has committed to at least voting for the current bill in its current form. How's that looking? I know a lot of things are going on today. I've read some stories y'all might be voting either tonight or tomorrow on this. What's the word on that?
Right. Well, the so-called vote-a-rama, where all of the amendments of any kind are allowed, and they can offer as many as they want to on into the night and into tomorrow. That begins I guess, maybe around dark tonight, and so we'll be voting until our colleagues across the aisle get tired of offering amendments. But I've been in this position before and had the rug pulled out from under me, but this does feel like victory today. Mm-hmm. And yes, Senator McCain's affirmative vote will help. I think I think there have been enough assurances given to those 2 or 3 senators who are worried about the small business aspect of this, the so-called pass-through corporations. And it seems that we're making some progress evening out their treatment as compared to the larger C corporations. And this all gets very, very technical. But it seems like we've made some changes, and we've got the votes. We need 50, and we'll welcome Mike Pence into the chair again, as he's had to do several times, and break the tie. And let me tell you, I mean, there's a reason why the stock market has been going up 100 points a day for almost every day this week, is because the economy is anticipating that we are going to do this great thing for job creation and for wages and take-home pay for Americans. They feel that we are about to do it, and it's incumbent on us to do it. We have gotten very old-fashioned in the way we tax job creators as compared to our competitors in Asia and Europe. And we need to enter the 21st century, and this is a pivotal day when we can join the House of Representatives and actually put our money where our mouth is and get something close to passage. I'll have to go back to conference, but I know the president is thrilled at the progress we're about to make, and I think we see a conference report signed before the middle of December.
Senator Roger Wicker, Republican of Mississippi, has been our guest. Senator, thank you so much. I know your time is limited and valuable. We appreciate you spending some of it with us here on today's issues.
Well, thank you for having me, and just give me a call, and I'll be happy to chat with you again. Hope we have good news during the wee hours of the morning on passage.
I hope so, too. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.